A good name is to be chosen than great riches, and loving favor rather than silver and gold. A wise man foresees evil and hides himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. He that oppresses the poor to increase his riches, and he that gives to the rich, shall surely come to want. So rob not the poor because he is poor, neither oppress the afflicted at the gate. For the Lord will plead their cause, and spoil the soul of those that spoil them. It's very important to understand what is meant by a prudent man foresees the evil. I'm coming from Proverbs 22. See, the evil here is not what befalls you, a situation. No. We're talking about evil tendencies within ourselves. You're able to see them and the potential of they happening to you, in you. Things such as oppressing people and lying and deceiving people and dividing people to be able to get money. Because a good name is rather to be chosen than great wealth. In the comic book community, we see right now that Marvel versus DC war is going on, sort of like, which is not necessary. We're all comic book fans. And some people lie and deceive in order to get more clicks, clickbait, and also in order to get favor with the people who are right now sort of dominating the comic book film industry, which is Marvel. And so they're willing to oppress and put down other people who may like DC. But the evidence doesn't support that. And I will show you. So instead of us working together as comic book fans, we have these divisiveness. We have these fanboys who are attacking DC. Because mostly the attack is on DC, generally speaking. Most DC fans, are not fanboys. But you have the ravenous few who attack Marvel, which is stupid. But we have them. Captain America Civil War last year was hailed as one of the greatest comic book movies of that year. It grossed a heck of a lot of money and was considered rewatchable. Whereas Batman v Superman that came out was considered a flop at first by the haters, and then later on it was considered as a great disappointment and one of the worst comic book movies of 2016. Got the Razzie Awards and all of this. A lot of hate was thrown towards that movie. It was a lot of hate before the movie came out. And the movie made a ton of money. And it was said to be one of the movies that was never going to be rewatchable. People didn't want to see it anymore. Okay. I heard it all over the place. Collider videos. You know, I heard a lot of people. And people had to defend the movie. I was one of them. Now, if that movie was not rewatchable, why is it, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just dispelling this lie. I'm trying to get rid of it. Why was it that the total domestic video sales as of January this year, which is 74,536,116, is on par, if not higher, than the total domestic video sales of Captain America Civil War, which is 74,371,000. Batman v Superman, 74,536,000. I want you to see the difference. Got it? Why? Some people will say, well, the ultimate cut to them was significantly greater than the theatrical cut. Okay, fair enough. But still, at the end of the day, the substance of the movie was the same. I heard John Campea go as far as to say Batman v Superman will never be a classic movie. It'll never be a classic. As time goes along, people are seeing more and more value in this movie. And the Martha scene that people poked fun of, they're starting to look at it now. And when they relook at the movie, some of them are coming around to understanding it. Not only understanding it, but appreciating it. Because remember, it was a bunch of haters out there that was saying the Martha scene was atrocious. Now, it's a memorable scene, I will not lie to you. I already said that the actor who played Superman, Henry Cavill, even though his head was under the boot, his throat was under the boot of Batman, I still thought that his expression wasn't sufficient. He was too stoic when he said, he was talking about save Martha, right? I thought that was the odd thing in there. But having said that, I thought that the scene was one of the most emotional parts of the movie. It made me cry a bit, because Batman actually started snapping back into his past as Superman said these words. And we know why Superman said Martha instead of my mother. It's very clear. Now, it had to do with Lex Luthor. But the point anyway is this. They said this movie was not rewatchable. But the evidence doesn't support that. Now, we could say this is the ultimate cut, probably. And people really love the ultimate cut and they apologize to Zack Snyder. It doesn't matter to me. Now, I can agree. It's probably the ultimate cut that sold that much, because more people could understand the movie. I have to say that even though a lot of people actually liked the movie, they didn't love it. But a lot of people in the cinemas liked the movie and rated it somewhere around the 8 and the 7 and the 8. Most people were confused at certain parts of the movie. Because the movie wasn't linear. It was moving from this event to that event, etc. Okay, how it was cut was very much an indie style kind of cutting thing, and that never happened for comic book movies per se. Okay, it was different. So I understand that, but as far as I'm concerned, the theatrical cut is it's still fine for me. It's not the same as the ultimate cut, because the ultimate cut not only gives more information, but it's something that you don't have to think as much actively to follow. But even so, having said all of that, the point is that at the end of the day, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice in domestic video sales, which tells us rewatchability of a movie, has grossed more currently than Captain America: Civil War. So the facts do not support the lie that Captain America: Civil War, which is supposedly hailed as the greatest comic book movie of 2016. Some people argue Deadpool. Some people argue Suicide Squad. Whatever. At the end of the day, that movie grows less at present, to this current time, than Batman v Superman. And even if you don't say it grows less, it was on par with it in terms of rewatchability. Think about what I'm saying. I want to present another point here, which I think is very important. Batman v Superman came off the heels of Man of Steel. In terms of total domestic video sales, Man of Steel so far has grossed $110, almost $111 million. Batman v Superman has grossed $74 million, $75 million. That's $35 million less than Man of Steel. Okay? However, Captain America: Civil War is an Avengers film, because all the Avengers are in there, more or less. So it's coming off the heels of Avengers. Look at their grosses domestically, $234 million. And Avengers: Age of Ultron, which had a steep decline from $234 million to $79 million. If you go from $234 million to $79 million, that is a drop of almost $130 million. Okay? Oh, sorry. That's a drop of more than $130 million. That's almost a drop of $160 million. There you go. $160 million. It's crazy. 160, 150, right? That's a steep drop. That shows that people were not interested in Avengers: Age of Ultron. And the same thing happened for Captain America: Civil War. We have had a drop. It's less than Age of Ultron currently, but we don't know what it will pan out and fill out to be in the full, in 2 years' time. 2 years' time will really tell us the true story. So right now it's at $74 million. Now, Batman v Superman dropped by $30 million. This drops by $150 million. And then maintains it and keeps dropping. Well, I don't know if it'll keep dropping, but my point anyway is this. If Captain America Civil War was such a great movie and so rewatchable that people are saying, and Collider Video is saying, oh, I can watch it again and again and again, knowing very well that they're lying and that they're taking the information that people have been saying about Batman v Superman. They even said when Batman v Superman was an indie film, they even trolled people and said, oh, this little indie film called Captain America Civil War. You know Captain America Civil War ain't no indie film. Y'all know this. That's Hollywood all the way through. The storyline, everything how it's done is traditional Hollywood. Batman v Superman was definitely indie because the way it was presented in the theaters was not your conventional way. Everybody knows Batman v Superman was an indie film. Everybody knows that. But they lie. And this is the thing that the scripture is talking about. Why are you trying to put down a set of people because they seem to be a threat to you? Why are you trying to put them down and raise up what you're doing? You think it will last? No. You'll end up wanting. That's what the scripture says. And this is exactly what's happening. What's happening? Batman v Superman. People are finding new stuff all the time. And they're seeing new things and themes in Batman v Superman. Because Zack Snyder's like that. Zack Snyder had got layers, baby. And when y'all appreciate Zack Snyder, he ain't just an action filmmaker. Yeah, he's visual. Yeah, he got a lot of visual things going on in his movies. But besides that, Zack Snyder is just a different kind of storyteller. You can always find value in what Zack Snyder does years after he's put out what he's put. Which is why Batman v Superman, its rewatchability is on par and a little better than Civil War at this present time. And it set up so much for the upcoming DCEU movies as well. It did all of that. And Zack was so clever with it. When he put V instead of versus, it made sense. It was Batman who really had a bigger issue with Superman than Superman had with Batman. And so the fight wasn't necessarily Superman fighting Batman. No, it was Batman fighting Superman. But V, which is awesome because it was V for Vendetta as well, from the Wachowski brothers, now Wachowski sisters, so messed up, is that V shows that you can have also in the legal court of law. And such a clever movie. And of course, people through time will appreciate it more for its cleverness as we go through time. And people were angry, oh, the Dawn of Justice. They shouldn't have added Dawn of Justice. Yet you got Captain America Civil War. You got that too. Come on, man, folks. And we know it wasn't necessarily a civil war. But there definitely was the Dawn of Justice. Okay? Because we see Justice League coming up now. Which makes more sense to look forward into time than describe a event. So, at the end of the day, not only did Civil War rip off from Batman v Superman, they copied off of Batman v Superman. And they got all this praise for copying, and they say, oh, it was a better copy of Batman v Superman. Okay, give me one memorable thing you remember from Civil War. I can tell you a whole bunch of memorable things from Batman v Superman. You know why? Because people are still having them as memorable. Martha! Why did you say that name? They made it memorable. They immortalized that thing. Okay? They immortalized Batman v Superman by doing that. You don't have one single line from Civil War that anybody will remember. And it will be part of the culture and the icon of people. You're not a god. You're not even a man. Martha is his mother's name. I can just go on and on and on with Batman v Superman. Because it created such a stir and so much commotion online that it's going to be remembered in history. Oh, it's never going to be remembered. Anybody remember anything from Civil War? What do you remember from Civil War? Oh, there you go. There you go. So which movie is actually not going to be remembered in history? All people remember is Warm and Fuzzy Feelings. Oh yes, Civil War was a great movie. What was it about? I can't remember. Something about the Accords. They're gonna have to scratch their head and dig to remember what the story was. But everybody's gonna remember that in Batman v Superman, Superman died. Everybody gonna remember that. Everybody gonna remember Doomsday that looked like the Ninja Turtle. Or like some beast from Lord of the Rings. Everybody gonna remember Doomsday was in that. Everybody gonna remember Batman v Superman because Wonder Woman debuted in it. Do I need to go on? Do I need to go on? Everybody's gonna remember Batman's badass warehouse scene. Oh, Batman just ran through all those people in that warehouse. Was so badass. He came out through the floor. Everybody's gonna remember that. Everybody's going to remember the atrocious, annoying as hell Lex Luthor. Am I making my point yet? I got one more for you guys. So when a movie is not as appealing as it should be, its rewatchability drops drastically. Not slightly. See, with Batman v Superman, the rewatchability so far has dropped slightly. It moved from 110,000 with Man of Steel to Batman v Superman's 74 million, right? 110 million, sorry, and 74 million, right? I'm saying that Man of Steel is actually liked more currently. We don't know what will happen over time. It's liked more currently than Batman v Superman, right? However, a drastic drop is when you look at Avengers. And you look at this Avengers movie, Captain America Civil War, and it's dropped significantly. We're talking about $150 million. That's significant. What it really tells us is people don't really want to collect Captain America Civil War. Yeah, they enjoyed the movie in the cinema. But they didn't like it that much that they wanted to collect it and actually watch it again and again and again like Avengers. You guys understand that? I'll give you another example. Transformers. The very first Transformers. $303 million it made in total domestic video sales. That's ridiculous. Ridiculous. In 2007. People loved Transformers. Couldn't get enough. In 2014, 7 years later, box office made money. But then when you look at domestic video sales, it dropped by $237 million, maybe a little bit less, $236 million. There's a ridiculous drop in domestic video sales, showing you that people did not dig this movie at all. It made box office, but it did not make domestic video sales. Got it? Now, I'm just showing you that this is what happened with the Avengers in terms of Captain America Civil War. Now, you can say as a Captain America movie, it made pretty good at the box office and it made pretty good in domestic video sales. But we all know it was a Avengers movie. And quite frankly, in terms of domestic video sales, this does not match up to what the Avengers series has been doing. But you cannot blame Captain America for that. You have to blame the second Avengers movie. Age of Ultron dropped significantly from the first Avengers movie. Okay? And that's the reason why you had the spillover with Captain America Civil War. People didn't want to watch it as much because of maybe Age of Ultron. Okay? Man of Steel, there was a drop, but it wasn't as significant. And we still don't have the final figures for Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. So we have to still kind of wait. Man of Steel had 3 years to really, do its thing. Batman v Superman has only been in its first year. Not even a complete year yet. And Captain America Civil War, same thing. It's still preliminary. But they're moving side by side at present in terms of the DVD sales. And so that's something that I wanted people to understand. And the hate out there, I always try to set the record straight on things. I try to tell the truth. We as comic book fans need to root for one another's movies. Whereas there were haters coming on my page talking about Guardians of the Galaxy, look how they slumping, 57% slump. That's a prediction, first of all. And they're not going to do as well as the first one. So what? If they don't do as well as the first one, who says they won't do as well as the first one? They're already over $600 million in the box office. It looks like they're going to cross that and go to 700 million, 800 million, maybe 900 million, even maybe past the billion. You don't know. You don't know how people are going to react to this movie. I enjoyed it. I'm a comic book movie fan. I'm not really into Marvel, all of that, but Guardians of the Galaxy's got me. That opening thing with Baby Groot dancing, come on, man, folks. That is a hoot. I mean, I cracked up. I wanted to pee and felt right myself right there because it was so funny. It was funny. It was funny. These guys got the funny down pat. And it was loony funny. I liked it. It reminded me of Looney Tunes from Warner Brothers. It was really funny. And that's all you really wanted from this movie. You want a fun ride. And it was just that. It was, the critics say pretty much the truth on this movie. All right? But the thing about it is, will the critics speak the truth about Wonder Woman? Because Wonder Woman ain't supposed to be Looney Tunes. It ain't supposed to be funny like that. It's supposed to be a serious movie. Yes, it's supposed to have, you want to balance it a degree with levity. But this is World War I, folks. World War I was, you had massive amounts of death. Okay? There was a lot of trench warfare and stuff. I already if you guys haven't watched my video on World War I, you can go ahead and check it out. Okay? This movie is going to be gritty. DC has always been gritty. They've always been gritty. The only DC film, I think, or Warner Brothers film, let me say, that wasn't gritty was Superman. And then, oh my God, Batman and Robin wasn't gritty. It was just I try to keep that out of my mind. I don't like to think about Batman and Robin, okay? Some people like Batman and Robin. It wasn't for me. It wasn't for adults, okay? But Wonder Woman, I think Patty Jenkins got it so that little kids can watch it. And it's going to be gritty. And the great thing about rooting for movies, and I'm doing the right thing. I'm rooting for Guardians of the Galaxy to succeed because Guardians of the Galaxy has elements in it where it's gritty. It's literally, there were certain points in that movie where it was painful to watch. Okay? Now, it was loony, yeah, but it had serious moments. And people died in that movie. Lots of people died in that movie. And because of the humor, sometimes you were desensitized, and other times they wanted to make sure they made a point that you understood that this was significant. So they were able to actually make you desensitized to certain deaths and sensitized to other deaths. Because since the movie's so loony, you're not certain if those people actually died or if they just will come back. You know what I'm saying? So I thought it was brilliant. I thought Guardians of the Galaxy was a brilliant film. And it followed off from the first Guardians of the Galaxy, which I wasn't so hyped about. I liked the trailers and stuff. And then when I watched the movie, it was like, oh, okay, that's the movie. I think Ronan took me out of it because he wasn't as dangerous as I expected him to be. I still dug it. Didn't dig it that much. I used to talk against it for a while. But the second Guardians, it really got me hyped. I watched it. I really was thoroughly entertained with it. I enjoyed it. I think it's the funniest comic book movie I think we'll have for the year. I think it's its own thing. Chris Pratt is a hoot. I saw him in interviews with Ellen DeGeneres where he was doing this thing with this thing he put in his mouth. The guy is a hoot. I'm happy for Chris Pratt. I'm happy for Saldana. She also starred in the movie with Ben Affleck. And she's been hitting and missing with movies, but she's been in some really good movies. And she's really a good actor. I give her all her props. And, not Chris Pratt. Oh my gosh, I'm doing the same thing. Chris Pine. Chris Pine has had some hit and miss moments too with Star Trek and other things he's been in. Hell or High Water was an excellent movie he was in. And Chris Pratt, man, he gonna be in Wonder Woman, and I really like Chris Pratt. I like. Oh, did I say Chris Pratt? Oh my gosh, the same thing they were talking about in Saturday Night Live. Chris Pine, y'all. Chris Pine. Chris Evans again. He was a hit and miss guy too. He was in Fantastic Four, the first one, and he was in some other movies. He wasn't a hit and miss actor until he landed Captain America, and of course, Chris Evans doesn't just want to be known as Captain America. He wants to be involved in other things. So he's going to branch out. Same thing with Henry Cavill. Everybody's calling him Superman all the time. Henry Cavill's trying to branch out. I think he's going to be in Mission Impossible. So, you want the actors want to get other gigs and they want to be known for other things. They want to have other dimensions to them. Gal Gadot, she's going to be in some other movie as well. Even though she's in this Wonder Woman movie, she's going to be in another movie pretty soon as well. So you got to understand, I'm not mad at these people. I'm glad they're doing well. And I think Hollywood needs to kind of just back off of the politics for a minute. Even with this upcoming Wonder Woman movie that everybody's anticipating. There's a lot of politics, where, they're going to try and support it. They're saying this is push to support Wonder Woman because, it's a female-led movie and you don't want to go against feminists. But look, man, just tell us the truth about the movie. Was it good to you or was it not good to you? Tell us the truth about the movie. But don't play politics and compare this movie to a Marvel movie. Don't do that. It's not. Warner Brothers DC is not, like my boy Emergency Awesome said, DC's not going the route of just jokes and being funny. They're going a different route. Get used to it. They're going a different route storytelling wise, obviously, in the way how they are lining up their movies. They started off with Superman, and then they pit Batman against Superman with Wonder Woman in there, and that's a prequel to the Justice League. Then they went to the side with Suicide Squad, and they introduced these villains of Batman. And now they're coming to way before the time. See, they're going all over the place. They're not linear, right? They're not going in linear fashion. And that's how their movies are. Their movies are, don't expect Wonder Woman to be this tremendously linear film. No, it's a flashback to start with. Wonder Woman's going to some place. She sees a picture and she's flashing back into time. This is the way the DCU is going to be done. You don't like it. That's because you're used to what Marvel's been doing. And when you get used to the pattern of the DCEU, you're going to like it for what it is. At present, everybody only knew comic book movies through the Marvel lens. The X-Men on Fox. The Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is Disney driven mostly, right? The only other franchise they have, and it's just a franchise, it's not a universe, was Transformers. Okay? So you found that people would talk about Zack Snyder's films as like Transformers. Not as action as a Michael Bay film. And I listened to them, and I understand where they're coming from. Transformers, the action, you couldn't follow all the action. But the Transformers film, the Last Night that's coming out, which is interesting because it matches up with The Last Jedi. But anyway, The Last Night that's coming out looks like its CGI is actually a lot better. Still a lot of carnage, a lot of damage. Maybe they're going to talk about the repercussions of this damage and so on. And it seems as though Optimus Prime, something happened to him and he's turning against them. It reminds me a little bit of what happened with the Fast and Furious. With Dom or whatever. Right? So I'm just saying, you're not going into Transformers. You're going to get a story, don't get me wrong. You're going to get a story in Transformers. But if you've been following the franchise, then you will understand that Transformers is actually more about the Transformers. That's why it's called Transformers. And Michael Bay had this formula, and it's always going to catch people, and people are going to always go to the cinemas and watch this film. They can make $1 gillion with it. But it does have a story. A lousy story, but it is a story nonetheless. From the trailers, I'm not really hyped up about the story. I'm not going to see Transformers. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not going to go. There's certain movies I just don't go see. But anyway, comparing Zack Snyder to Michael Bay is an insult to Zack Snyder. Because y'all can't be saying, oh man, Zack Snyder made one of the greatest comic book movies in Watchmen. After they see the director's cut, right? He made one of the greatest movies in Watchmen. And then you compare him to Michael Bay? Are you out of your freaking mind? He made Man of Steel, which lots of people are saying is one of the best movies in the DCEU so far. He made Man of Steel. So how the fuck is he Michael... Oh, sorry. Gosh darn it. I just went off. So I understand what people are saying in terms of confusing. Batman v Superman was confusing to them. Right, the critics, and then they go in and because see, critics don't think about the story. What is the story trying to tell? See, I try to explain to these stupid critics that when you're going in to watch a movie, you can't get caught up in details, because the audience is not caught up in details. A normal movie-going audience is not so anal retentive on minor things that they get locked out of a movie. And a lot of you film critics are not normal, ordinary people. You're nerds, and you don't think the same way like the normal, ordinary person. I know, because I'm the same way. That's why I have to use numbers to show you what the normal, ordinary person does. I'm a nerd. I'm freaking anal retentive. I look at all kinds of details. The difference between me and some of these other people is you get bogged down by details. I don't. I stay focused on what is going on. And I'm making a note of the details which can throw people off. So I'm not the usual person who gets thrown off by certain things. I can watch a movie and not smile and not even give you an indication that I'm enjoying the movie, but I am enjoying it on the inside. I can also express myself and actually laugh and eat popcorn and just be expressive. I can change modes with a movie. Critics try to look at different aspects of movies. I know that. But it doesn't mean that because you're watching a movie that you take yourself out of the movie. See, it's how you go in watching a movie. If you think the movie's going to be shit, you're going to get that. I don't care what movie it is. You're going to get it's shit. Because it's easy. It's a state of mind. If you go into a movie looking to nitpick a movie to death, you're going to get exactly what you want. Okay? So you can't go into a movie with an attitude that I'm going to pick the shit out of this movie. Because if you do that, you're going to get fucked over. You're never going to have a good movie going experience. Because of your taste. You decide this is not going to be a good movie. Then it's not going to be a good movie. You already set that, whether subconsciously or otherwise, in your head. You have to go into a movie. I didn't like the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. I was like, what people getting carried away about when I saw the movie? I was like, what's the great fuss about this movie? I don't find it all that. Story's lame. It's a simple, lame story. They're going to find a gem. They got a gem. They stole a gem. And this gem has some kind of power with it. And the other guy was trying to get it. And that's the whole movie. Okay? To me, it wasn't that big a deal. But to a lot of people who saw this kind of thing, and they're Marvel fans, and then a lot of people loved the movie. All right. The sequel, on the other hand, I went into the movie understanding what the movie was, what kind of movie it was. So I'd be an ass if I'm going to go watch a movie and not understand what it is. So the first thing I did was, as I started watching the trailers, I was like, this movie's funny. And I'm realizing now, this is not a movie to be literal about all the way. It's just a movie to enjoy. Sit down and enjoy. That's what the kind of movie it is. So I went in with that mindset. I absolutely enjoyed the movie. I lapped it up. It's freaking hilarious, though. The opening credits, I mean, that's what just totally changed my mind about the movie. I was going in like, I don't know if I like this thing. Maybe I... And the opening credits just had me crowing. I mean, that was it. It was all over after that. So, my point being this. If you are looking at, it's your attitude, how you go into the cinema, that really makes a difference. And you can be extremely critical about a movie and enjoy it at the same time. You have to allow yourself to enjoy what you paid for. And if you didn't pay for it, okay, so you can be an ass. But at the end of the day, you have to enjoy what it is you're seeing. Life is to be enjoyed. You have to extract some enjoyment out of life. Otherwise, you're going to go through life sour and you're just going to be existing. You're not going to be living. And you're going to be always complaining about things like a whiny little, they call them female dogs. So I'm just saying, enjoy yourself. Life is to be enjoyed as much as possible, especially if you're doing something honest for a living and you're not trying to be partisan. Don't go in there being a DC fan or a Marvel fan or be influenced by what Marvel has done. Each film has its own story. At least get to know what the story is of a movie. Get to know the story. And don't be telling me this is confusing and that is confusing. I didn't know the point of this. Don't do that. Always know what they're striving to go for. So you can say, well, it seems as though the director was striving to do this, but it didn't really quite come off. When you say these things, it shows your understanding of the movie. You understood what the writer was doing. You understood what the director was doing. You understood what the actors were doing. And with that insight there, now you can critique a movie. Because at least you knew what they were trying to do. Did they pull it off? Not in your opinion. And that's real critiques. That's doing a real review. Not bashing everything. Oh, the movie was too dark. What was the context of the movie? What was the world they were creating? Don't behave like a 4-year-old. You're an adult. Break it down. DCE movies are too dark. They don't have enough color palette. What are you, a 3-year-old playing with colors? Or are you a grown adult that can say something and process information and understand why they're using that color palette? What are they going for? Did they succeed at it? Now, if you say it had this gritty color palette like a rated R movie, but they didn't quite go rated R on it. And I think because of that, they kind of compromised and it didn't sell the way how, say for instance, Logan sold. Logan felt gritty and it had that sort of rated R feel. And they went for it. And because they went for it all out, we recognize it and we respect it. It didn't feel true to its surroundings. See, when you say those kinds of things, now we can respect you as a critic, as a film reviewer. Instead of, it's just too dark. You're reacting to Marvel. You can't react. You have to be able to be somebody who can assess, process, and give us something that a critic is supposed to do. Don't be telling me critics are just fans. If critics are just fans, then I can pick up a critic job and I can get paid. No, critics are people trained to watch movies. It's not just people who just watch movies and they watch a lot of movies. That's like somebody saying, I watch a lot of boxing, so I can be an analyst. No, you can't. There's people who watch a lot of boxing and still don't know what the hell is going on in the ring. It's the same thing. If you say you're a critic, then you got to show us that. You got to show us that you can break down a movie into unbiased opinions and give sound reasoning from your unbiased opinion. Gone were the days when we had real critics, man. Now we got jokers out there that are just partisan. Just like how we have jokers on the media news giving us very partisan opinions, not even based in fact anymore. And a lot of those opinions are false. We gotta wake up and be responsible adults. We're not kids in here. We're adults. And let's be as unbiased as we possibly can be. Yes, we're going to have our biases. Yes, we're going to like movies more than other movies. Fine. But at least have some sort of solid, sound criteria, which is unbiased, to base our opinions off of. You must base your opinions off of something that's solid and sound. So I hope that you guys have been enlightened a bit by this video. It's been long, and I try my best to always put out quality products for you guys to watch. Always based on some sort of facts. As I said before, I'm a nerd. I'm not like the average moviegoer. I am anal retentive. But at the same time, don't get it twisted. I always try to find out first what is the heartbeat of the film. What is it trying to do? And then I go ahead and I start to break down if they achieve that objective to the viewers. You guys have a great one.